Hello. Two. Today we're reading out of the Bible Made Easy. It's called. God has a plan. Joseph's life had many ups and downs, yet God had a special plan for his life, just as he has for yours. For most of his early life, Joseph may not have made news headlines, yet because of his faithfulness, God used him to save many people. The bad news, Genesis 37, verse 28. Joseph sold as a slave in Egypt. Hi. The good news is Genesis 39, verse 3-4. Joseph finds favor with new master. The bad news, Genesis 39, verse 6-20. Joseph framed in jail. The bad news, Genesis 41, 56-57. Joseph's family faces starvation. The bad news, Genesis 42, 6-21. Joseph gets a chance to take revenge. The good news is Joseph can overcome, and Joseph forgives his brothers for what they did to him. Joseph became a slave. Jacob had many sons, in fact had 12 sons. Imagine if you had so many brothers living at home. At the age of 17, Joseph, the second youngest of the brothers, helped look after his father's flock. Joseph's brothers disliked him and were jealous of him because he was their favorite. What made things worse was that he had two rather strange dreams that seemed to show how his family would bow down to him. One day his father sent him to go and check on his brothers who were herding the flocks far away. Eventually Joseph tracked them down near a place called David. When his brothers saw him in the distance, they said, "Here comes that dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him into those pits." Yes, we'll just say that a wild animal got out of him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. Hang on, guys. Let's rather not take his life. So they threw Joseph into a deep water pit and had dried up. Reuben, the oldest of the brothers, who had stopped the brothers from killing Joseph, planned to rescue him later and take him back to his father. Just as they were sitting down to eat, a group of travelers came past on camels loaded with spices, and they were on their way to Egypt. Suddenly, Judah and I had an idea. Let's not kill Joseph. Let's rather sell him as a slave to those traders. So that's what they did. They pulled him out of the pit and sold him to the traders. And when they got back home, they told their father that Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. The traders took Joseph to Egypt and sold him there to a man named Potiphar, who was in charge of the king's palace guard. So Joseph worked in Potiphar's home, and he worked hard and did the chores faithfully. Soon Potiphar noticed that Joseph had a good attitude and saw the Lord was with him. So he put Joseph in charge of the other servants and gave him all important tasks to do. When Potiphar's wife noticed how handsome Joseph was, she said to him, "Come to bed with me." But Joseph refused. He knew it would be wrong. One day, Potiphar's wife made up a story about Joseph and got him into big trouble, all because he didn't sleep with her and he went the other way from sin. He ran from sin. Potiphar believed his wife's story and was so angry with Joseph that he threw him into prison. But even in prison, the Lord was with Joseph, and it wasn't long before he was put in charge of all the other prisoners. The end of the good news is Joseph in charge of the famine project, and the point is, God has a plan for your life. The Lord is pleased with all the good and happy things in our lives, yet He notices and cares as much about the bad things that happen to us. With each day, we cannot know for sure how things will turn out, what big changes may come, and whether we will have a good day or not, but God knows. On that day that Joseph was sent off to find his brothers, he had no idea that he would never return home, but end up as a slave in Egypt. Then one morning, while working at Potiphar's house and minding his own business, how could he tell that he would be in prison by sunset? And during the years that Joseph spent in the gloomy prison, would he have made imagine that within a single day he be in charge of the whole of Egypt? The changes in your life may not be as dramatic as those in Joseph's life, but they are just as important to God. God carefully works through everything that happens to you, usually every light and dark color that makes up your day, until the picture of your life is complete. So, how are things going for you at this moment? Is your life bright and trouble-free, or does it feel as if you're in a dark pit with no hope of getting out? So remember this. God doesn't cause the bad things that happen to us, but He can and does use bad situations for our good. See Romans 8 verse 28. Nothing and no one can ever take us away from God's protection and love. See Romans 8 verse 35, verse 38, verse 39. And God is powerful. He is mighty to save. See Zephaniah 3 verse 17. The next story is about God prepares a leader. Because of the famine in Canaan, Joseph's whole family, his brothers, and his brother Jacob moved down to Egypt where there was enough food. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave them the best land to live on, and so they all settled there. Many years came and went. Eventually, Joseph and his brothers died. But God did not forget His promise to Abraham to make him into a great nation and give his descendants the land of Canaan to live in. And so over the years, the families of children and grandchildren that came from Abraham became a great nation, the nation of Israel. In the meantime, a new king who did not know about Joseph came to power in Egypt, and his name is Pharaoh. Pharaoh was afraid that the Israelites would become a strong nation that would turn against them and fight them. So he forced the Israelites to work very hard without being paid. But the more the Egyptian king did to harm God's people, the more God blessed the Israelites with many children. One day Pharaoh ordered that all the newborn babies the baby boys of the Israelites be thrown into the Nile River. But the parents of the baby Moses laid him in a special basket and hid him among the reeds of the riverbank. Moses was about 3 months old at that time when that happened. His sister Miriam stood some distance away watching what would happen. While the baby lay hidden on the bank of the Nile River, Pharaoh's daughter went down to the river to wash herself. It wasn't long before she discovered the basket in the reeds. And when she opened the basket and saw the baby, she felt sorry for him. Miriam quickly went up to her and asked, "Shall I go get someone to care for him?" "Yes, go," she answered. So Miriam went to call her mother, but the princess, not knowing that she was the mother of Moses, offered to pay her to look after him. In this way, Moses was cared for by his own mother until he was quite a bit older, and then his mother took him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who took him in as her own son. Many years later, when Moses was a young man, he went out to where his own people were hard at work. He happened to see an Egyptian beating an Israelite. So when no one was looking, Moses killed the Egyptian, and hid his body in the sand. Pharaoh had found out that Moses had done and wanted to kill him. But Moses fled and went to live in the land of Midian. There he became a shepherd and looked after the flock of a man called Jericho, who became his father-in-law. And one day while out in the desert, Moses saw a bush that was on fire. But strangely, it wasn't burning up. When he went closer to have a look, he heard a voice saying, "Moses, do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for this is where you are standing is holy ground." Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. So, what is God like? What God is like, words cannot describe the total greatness of God. And while we are on earth, we cannot know how truly awesome God is. But we can praise Him for every wonderful aspect of His nature that we do know about Him. God is patient, mighty, all-present, merciful, holy, all-knowing, kind, righteousness, just, good, majestic, gracious, loving, unchanging, infinite, all-powerful, and wise, and He's compassionate, and eternal, and faithful. God is holy. He is so perfect and good in every way that no person can look at Him and live. See Exodus 33:20. When God spoke to Moses, He spoke from a burning bush, and even the ground, and even the ground around the bush became holy. God said to Moses, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I've seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries for help, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and lead them to a fruitful land with plenty of space for everyone. I am sending you to Pharaoh to lead my people out of Egypt." But Moses said, "Who am I to go to the king and lead your people out of Egypt?" And then God said, "I will be with you," God replied. Then Moses said, "But if I go tell the Israelites that the God of their fathers sent me to lead them, Then Moses said, "But if I go tell the Israelites that God of their fathers sent me and lead them out of Egypt, they ask, 'What is his name? What must I tell them?' God said to Moses, 'I am who I am,' says to the Israelites. 'I am has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and people must use the name from now on.' But Moses started making excuses. 'What if they don't believe me, and I am not a good speaker?' So the Lord allowed Aaron, the brother of Moses, to do all the speaking, while Moses used his staff to do special signs and miracles. Moses went to Pharaoh and told him to let the Israelites go free, but Pharaoh did not listen to Moses, and his heart became hard, and he did not obey God's instruction to let his people go. So God made the water of the river now turn blood, and all the fish died, and no one could drink the stinky water. But Pharaoh would not listen, and he would not let God's people go. This is the plagues that he sent to Pharaoh. He sent 10 plagues. So God made frogs come out of all the rivers and pools in Egypt and cover the whole land, but Pharaoh still would not listen, and he would not let God's people go free. So God made the dust of the ground turn to gnats or lice, and they covered all the people and animals, but Pharaoh still would not listen, and he would not let the people go. So God made swarms of flies over the land of Egypt, yet the flies did not go near the homes of the Israelites. But the Pharaoh still would not listen to God, and he would not let God's people go. So God brought a disease on all the animals of the Egyptians, but the animals of the Israelites